So to get started with, let's just feel where we make contact with the floor, right? And this first part is not physical, it has to do with our attention and what we focus on. And through the whole of class, that's just as important as any muscle or any joint or any bit of our posture that we're working on is our willingness and our plan to keep moving back to the sense of touch. We're not used to it because our eyes run the show mostly. So that's why we close our eyes whenever it feels comfortable, so that we can reach out into our sense of touch on purpose. And it's not something that we do really strong. We do once really strong at the beginning of class, but then it's all about tiny little adjustments, right? Remembering to come back. Oh, now I'm thinking about dinner. I come back to what it feels like to meet the mat. Or I think about someone I need to call later. I come back and feel how my clothes are fitting. It's returning, right? Every time you realize you're distracted and you're thinking about something else, find something physical to focus on and watch it, right? Pay attention to it, see how it moves and how it changes. And of course, we'll be making lots of new sensation. That's what a pose is. We change the shape of our body until we feel it, and then that bit of feeling becomes the focus for our meditation. So notice first where you meet the floor, okay? Could be your feet, your legs, your seat, wherever, it'll be different for everyone. Just notice where you're making contact with the ground. All right, now, next time you take a breath, let's take a really long, full inhale from the ground all the way to the top of the head, and let that long inhale sit you up nice and tall. Reach up through the crown of the head. Hold your breath for just a moment, full of air. And then on the release, feel the shape of the spine. Feel how the bones of the body are supporting this. Exhale. Only use your muscles to balance your bones, right? You're putting your bones into place, and then the muscles can switch off. All right, let's do that one more time. From the floor, we're going to breathe in to the top of the head. Hold for just a moment. And exhale, feel your spine supporting you. Okay, let's start to make some small movements with our neck and our head, right? Make some small circles, tiny, just the smallest circle you can find at the beginning. And then gradually keep your shoulders stable so that we have an anchor point, but gradually let that circle become wider until you're beginning to find your limit. You're beginning to find that place. That's how far my head goes in that direction. And I invite you tonight, when we run up against those boundaries, to accept them and study them and think of them as points of structure and points of containment. It's what makes us ourselves those limits and those borders and boundaries, right? When we find one of those places, it's not even something to be pushed past. It's just something to watch and pay attention to. All right, let's circle the other way. All right, that's good. Let's bring our hands down here beside our hips, and we're going to push forward to help lift our heart, all right? I'll be reminding you over and over as we go forward, lift your heart, lift your solar plexus. That's here below the sternum. Use a push with your hands, and we're not going to push for long, but just get used to doing that, right? Here's where our bravery and our courage and our love and our power resides in the body, and we're bringing it forward into life, right? We're not hiding it or defending it, we're lifting it and bringing it forward. Use a little bit of push with your hands and arms just to remind you how that feels. And then let's release our hands and arms and just sit there for a moment with the intention of keeping the heart and the solar plexus lifted. But remember, we can lift them up, we can press them forward, but the best tool we have for that is our lower back. Press your lower back forward and notice how that low push levers the upper body up. And that's the best place to do it. Because now we can release across the collarbones and the neck and the jaw, places where we tend to hold on to tension. And we can just let that go. Balance your skull, balance your shoulders, let your whole body just hang loose from its attachment points. Okay, let's take the solar plexus here. So again, that's right below the sternum, right where the ribs curve apart. And we're gonna shift it out to the right? Bend your right side so your solar plexus goes out here. And then we're gonna circle. So tuck it back behind you. And then we're gonna push it out to the side. And then we're gonna circle it forward. Okay, big circle here with the solar plexus. Remember to breathe. When it's comfortable to you, close your eyes and see if you can move by how it feels, because that's when it becomes like a game. Oh, where is that boundary? How far can I push in that direction? You find it, right? You watch it. You don't have to change it. We just stay with it, right? In this whole circle, we're pushing out against that limit. All right, let's circle the other way. Okay, good. We'll do one more little thing here before we move around a little bit. Let's use our right arm to prop us up. And this is gonna make space here in the left side. So left arm comes out and it's gonna come up and over. Right, same deal here. Just because of the gravity of the whole thing, we tend to sort of melt back like so. But just remember, lifting the heart, lifting the solar plexus, so we sort of stay in this forward plane instead of, excuse me, collapsing back. Okay, let's come on back up through center. And we'll use our left hand for our propping this time. Right arm comes up, and we're just gonna bring it up and over. Big curve here in the right side of the body, making space in the muscles between the ribs. That's the intercostal muscles, the right side of the abdomen, right hip, all the way up into the armpit. When was the last time you had an armpit workout? Right? We don't really mess with the armpit very much when it comes to fitness. Okay, great. Let's come on back to center. And as promised, let's go ahead and stand up. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I noticed that the battery was low. It's all right. It'll run for a little while. Thank you. All right, let's start towards the back of the mat. And we're going to use this front of the mat. Oh, I lost my mint.
3-second rule.
No, I'm not gonna. If it was outside, I would eat it, but not the gym floor.
Well, they swept it today because this morning they had stuff from the ceiling all over the floor over there. None of that's on the floor anymore.
All right, so start from the back of the mat so that we can lock our eyes on the front of the mat. For balance poses, when we're looking at something that's still, is very helpful. Okay, go ahead and bring your feet together so there's as little space as possible, right? Your feet are jammed right together. And then we're going to interlace our fingers and flip the palms. Yep. Hands and arms come up here. And here's the important part, to look where the front of your mat is. Lock your eyes to that still point, and then we're just going to pick up into the fronts of the feet. right? Doesn't matter how far off the floor we go, we're just lifting the heels a little bit. And you can press your heels together to like strengthen the back of the body. It sort of helps with stability if we get our heels pushing together. This is called the palm tree pose. So we're gonna treat our fingers like palm fronds. Go out wide, make space in your hands and your wrists. Okay, good. Let's release the heels. Let's release the arms. And then take a couple of, I don't know what these are called, bounces. We do this in Tai Chi and Qigong. Roll your shoulders back, lead with your heart and your solar plexus, and just sort of jolt your upper body, right? It's in the heels, right? I'm picking up and just landing, letting gravity sort of shake it out a little bit. Awesome. So let's start to turn at the hips and shoulders, and we're going to get our arms circling here. Okay? And we're going to keep our arms open, or our hands open, and give ourselves sort of a pat. So when we start down low, we're patting with the back of our hand here, right the lower back on the sides. Front hand is right here to the side of the belly. Okay, make sure you're free with it, with your hips and shoulders. And now let's start to bring that contact point up a little bit, so we can make a little splat here on the side of the ribs and a little higher on the back of the body. Right, we'll keep ascending here. Now we're going to go right over the collarbone. Right, so give yourself a little pat right on the collarbone as you come around. And then we'll make our way back down. Right, just waking the front of the body up, waking the back of the body up, using our contact with ourself. It's like it's another one of those boundaries things. We wake our body up, we remind ourselves of our shape, right? We remind ourselves that we're a physical part of the universe. Okay, excellent. This time, let's start from the back of the mat again, and we're gonna take a long step forward. Okay, and for the back foot, for me that's my right foot, you can either float that heel, so balance on the front of the foot, or you can tuck it in here a little bit if that feels more comfortable, however you like to do it. Then check in with the hips and point them forward. This is a closed hip posture, so set your feet up so that your hips can comfortably face forward. And then we'll do some warrior poses here. Warrior one. Hands and arms come up, and then we're gonna bend into the front knee. Right? Let the upper body sink straight down. It's tempting to go forward from the hips, but we're gonna try to stay tall so that when we sink down here, it becomes a hip stretch. Right? Keep a little bit of oomph getting the knee to the left side. That's just another one of those stabilizing moves. All right, let's straighten that front knee, and then we're going to bring the hands to the hips. Pull your elbows back towards one another, right, to make the heart open and the front of the body nice and wide. And we're going to fold forward from the hips. Pause when you feel like it's about flat, right? Like your back is about flat. Reach tall through your head and reach back through the tailbone. All right, now we're going to release our hands to find some hold points on our leg or on the floor if you want. We're just going to release our upper body forward, turn it into a big stretch for the front of the leg, or the front leg, that is, the left leg. And we're trying to find that place. It's not painful, but it's we feel it strongly, right? The muscles in the back of the left leg are like, oh yeah, there it is. But we find that place where we can just stay there and let it happen for a little bit. Okay, let's Start to get tall through the crown of the head again. Reach forward, reach back through the tailbone. Let's bring it on upright. Okay, and let's just switch feet. So for me, this time I need the right foot in the front. Just do the other side. Okay, awesome. Hands and arms come up. Remember, before we get into the struggle here, this is gonna stay pretty much upright, and we're gonna try to sink it down. If you find yourself going here, that just means pull back a little bit, like redo what you need to do with the knees in order to stay upright. Hands and arms go up. Let's bend into the front knee, warrior one. Awesome. That's great, y'all. Notice that we tend to put most of our weight in the front leg, I think because that's what we can see. We're more in control out here, but shift back and let your back leg do its own work, right? Use that front foot to put weight back into the back leg. Okay, let's lower the arms, straighten the knee. We'll take the hands to the hips, get the elbows hugging back, fold it forward. All right, and when it feels like our back is about flat, get tall through the crown of your head, reach back long through the tailbone. Okay, let's use our hands for balance here. We're just gonna gradually release the upper body so we make this wonderful stretch for the front leg. And you guys hear me harp on it all the time. Cooling postures, forward folds like this are our stress busters, right? If we don't have time to do a yoga practice, but we need that good yoga calm, these are the ones you go to. Find a place for a minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes. Do anything you have to stretch the back of your legs, right? Standing up and folding forward, sitting down and folding forward, lying on your back and pulling your legs up and toward you. That works. I think the reason I got why these made such good sense to me early on is that these muscles are long and obvious. When you're stretching the back of the leg, like we have a lot of small muscles in our back, but the legs are sort of bigger and more noticeable when we start to feel things there. So I think that's why I so early on was like, oh, I get it. I feel when I lengthen my leg, my mood is better. All right, extend through the crown of the head, extend back through the tailbone. Let's come back upright. And we'll meet up towards the center of the mat this time. And let's do a little bit of our silk reeling exercises. This is one of the ones that we're borrowing from Qigong. So the image of the form is that this golden loop of silk, right? And we're blowing it up and then pouring it back, right? It's like a scooping motion, hand up, coming forward. And when it's up above us, we turn our hand and we pour it back behind us. Right? If you're wondering what to look at, when I first learned this, I was like, where am I supposed to be pointing my eyes? If you lock your eyes to your hand, it gives it a really like enclosed feeling that to me is sort of like the icing on the cake for these poses. So let's let the left foot be a little bit in front, and our left hand's gonna rest here on the left leg. It's just to sort of stay balanced and easy. Okay, remember to stay soft in your stance and let your knees and your hips and your back have freedom and fluidity in them. And we'll start with the right hand, okay? So as we inhale, we're gonna scoop forward. And then above our head, our hand turns. We're gonna exhale, pour that exhale out behind you. And then we're scooping across and up. And we're pouring it back. Excellent. Let's try it out on the other side. So that just means our right foot's a little in front. We got our right hand resting on our right leg. Okay? And then the left hand is down by our side. We're going to start with an inhale and that forward scoop. Okay? Left comes up, inhaling, and then turn it around and pour that exhale back behind. Okay, fantastic. Let's do one more little borrowing from Qigong here because it's a good balanced posture, but it's moving and changing, whereas tree pose is still and steady. There's good times for that too, and there's times when that sort of balance is the best, but we're going to keep this one moving and flowing, okay? So for this one, our feet are parallel. Make them comfortable. Excuse me. This video might not make the cut. I don't want to be using my snot rag on the internet. For this one, we're going to be going up to one toe and then the other. So let's start. This is the crane pose. So the inhale is here. Let your wrists and your wings and your feathers be loose here and free. Inhale is here. And the exhale is going to cross in front of us. We're going to sink in the knees. And then the inhale is going to go. And the exhale is going to go. Okay, the next time the arms start to go out, lift up onto the toes of the right foot. And then the exhale, just set that right foot back down. Be soft and heavy in the knees. And then the inhale will come up to the left toes. And the exhale, set both feet again. Just go from one foot to the other. And maybe when that starts to make a lot of sense, and once it starts to feel solid, maybe even when that foot comes up, when the toes are dangling, it can float a little bit. It's not necessary, but if you want. The exhale always lets us sink and sort of ground ourselves again. And then the inhale, we switch over to the other foot. The closer we keep that floating foot to the other leg, also makes it more balanced. Fantastic. At this point, with my students, I say, okay, for this last one, it's the Karate Kid. Bring that leg all the way up and wow! Crane pose. Okay, let's, for this one, let's go ahead and have a seat again towards the back of the mat. And first we'll do both legs out straight. So if this is easy pose with legs comfortable, I always think of this one as hard pose. It's not called that, it's called staff pose, but obviously it takes a lot more work. So before we get into what makes that work happen or how that work works, let's reach up like this, push up tall, and then go forward, reach out long over both legs. And once you get back out over the legs, let your head drop. Just relax, settle forward. Okay, nice and slow, let's roll it upright. We'll let our head come up last. And then we're gonna turn our hands up and let them rest on our legs. This keeps us from doing this, which is what everybody wants to do, myself included, you know. It's just, this takes work. But what we're gonna learn to do, like so much of yoga, is about working smarter and not harder. Working with the shape of our body, working with gravity. So that our body we can feel it, but it's a feeling of joy, right? We're enjoying that feeling of life and movement and grace, right? Because we all have it. All right, so from here, we're just gonna first be really almost like overdue pushing forward of the lower back, right? Just crank it up to start with, because that reminds us what we need to do. Because when our lower back is getting engaged like that, all of this, we're back to that place of just balancing the bones, right? If our lower back is forward and supporting us, we can switch off in the collarbones and the jaw and the neck muscle, the shoulder muscles, all of those tension hot spots, we can release. Just put your attention there, and if you feel it is tight, it's almost like it lets go of itself. Okay, good. Let's bend the right knee, and we're going to take the right foot out to the side. Yep, find a way to do it that feels doable. Left knee's going to bend, and it's going to stay inside. So our left foot ends up in front of us, right foot out to the side. Okay? Now, we're going to point our center point, our sternum, at the left foot. I think of it as like lining up my shoulders with that front foot. And that just keeps us, when we constrain it like that, it puts the pose, or it puts the stretch of the pose right where we want it, which is mostly in the hip flexors, but really all of the hips get a lot of space here. So make a plan to move the sternum towards the front foot. Definitely use your hands so that you can hold yourself and you can move real slow with curiosity. Okay, we're exploring that border, right? Where things change and where we're not sure, you know, it's from surety or confidence into mystery, right? We don't go past that part, but we sure want to know what that boundary looks like. Okay, that's good. Let's come on back upright. And we'll leave the same setup with the legs for just a moment, and we're going to use our hands behind us. Same deal here, except for this time, I mean, it's pretty much the same as pointing at the foot, but this time just go straight back. Pay close attention to the hips, and when they tell you to stop, definitely stop, right? And if it feels good to keep a little bit of like movement, you know, scooting to the side or moving it forward and back, that's fine too. It's always good to leave yourself wiggle room, because that means that you're staying loose in the joints. There's times where we need to be rigid and stable, but most of the time we're trying to leave that space in there because number one, it feels good to be relaxed. And number two, we're just more mobile. When relaxation is equal to space, when we let the muscles switch off, that means things can be freer and have more, their relationship is bigger. All right, let's come on back upright. And we'll take the legs the other way. So the left foot is out to the side, right foot's right in front of us. Take a look here first and see what it feels like. Like this might be plenty of hip stretch, just being here. And if that's true, just use your hands and arms and support it, hold it so that you can move out of it if it becomes too much. But we're always trying to stay with discomfort. And it's the difference between a sharp pain and something that shouldn't happen, and that pain or discomfort that happens when you get there slowly and you're like, oh, is that, I don't know. Oh, there it is. That's a different kind of discomfort because that's illuminating us. That's showing us how we move and where we are. Right, let's point the sternum at the front foot. We're going to fold it forward. Take it nice and slow. Listen to what the hips say. Mine says clunk is the sound that left one just made. Okay, let's roll it on upright. And then we'll use our hands just behind us. Same deal with control and ease. Lean it back until you feel something changing in the hips. All right, that's good. Let's come on back up to center. And finally, have a good easy pose, Just make your legs and hips happy. The one stipulation that I'll put in is try to be supported just by your spine, right? So if you have the option, instead of leaning on the hands and arms, set it up so that your lower body is comfortable, but from the floor up, our spine is supporting itself, or our upper body is supporting itself. I like to picture my skeleton because spinal bones are weird, or vertebrae are weird looking, they got stuff sticking out, and all that's how they manage to be so special. When you stack them all up, they can move all sorts of ways. So it doesn't have to be detailed to imagine your skeleton, and stack those vertebrae up. It's like that game Jenga, right? We stack it up, and then when we're removing, the blocks that we're removing are muscles, right? When we remove a block, that means I'm letting that muscle relax and step back. I don't have to use it to keep the bones. And the idea is to stack those bones up all the way up to the head, and then we can just sit there and we're comfortable. All right, so easy pose. And for our breathing technique tonight, this is a purely selfish choice. Let's do some of those breaths into certain parts of the body, because I feel like my respiratory distress, I think it might feel good. So we're gonna take 4 parts of the body, and as we breathe, we're gonna close our eyes and put our attention and our breath into that point of the body, right? It's like we're focusing, and when we bring that new breath in, it's like fresh life and light and air. We're charging it up. We're putting our attention and our breath there. And on the exhale, we're releasing and resting and settling, right? Opening on the exhale. So the 4 points are just below the belly button, right? That's point number 1. And then the solar plexus, that's point number 2. Right in the center of the sternum is number 3. And then the hollow of our throat, right where our throat becomes our chest, right? That's the 4th point. And we'll start from the lowest and work our way up to the highest. And I'm gonna guide you through it. I don't know why I'm like giving the whole thing away up front. But Excuse me. So, first thing, we're going to take a nice full inhale and we're going to put it behind our belly button, right? Breathe in and send that inhale down low into the belly. Hold it for just a moment, and then on the exhale, send the exhale out of that point, right? When the inhale comes in, we're putting the oxygen and our attention into that point, and on the exhale, we're sending the carbon dioxide and our attention out of that same point. I switch back and forth. When I'm exhaling from a part of my body, sometimes I think of just sending the air forward, even though I know the breath is actually coming up my windpipe and out. Sometimes I like to breathe it forward like that, but that's, if you like to visualize things, you can either bring it up the windpipe and out. Also, a little weird tip, I like to, when I'm using my breath and breathing to one point and the other, I like to picture like the big blue arrows, like a storm, a cold front that the weatherman has, right? The big blue arrows, there's cool weather coming. That's what I'm using when I'm breathing into and breathing out of certain points. All right, the next one is going to be the solar plexus. So let's take a nice full inhale, brighten it up, liven it up, activate it by breathing into it. Hold for just a moment, and then on the exhale, release, relax, settle. Let's take a few rounds of inhales and exhales. Okay, next point is the center of the sternum. Okay, we're going to bring our inhale here, put our attention there, see what it feels like, investigate it, because we're curious about our body. We're getting used to listening to what it says on purpose. Even if there's not something calling out for our attention, we're learning to search our body because it's fun and because knowing yourself is always a good thing, right? See how the front of the chest feels, bring the inhale in there. And on the exhale, we're going to send the exhale from that same part of the body. Okay, our last point here is the hollow of the throat, right where the front of the throat becomes the front of the chest. We're gonna breathe in to that point, brighten it up, liven it up, activate it with your attention. And this is that place where we sort of do that little closure when we do the Darth Vader breath. So if you want to do that with this one, sometimes it helps to sort of feel things at the same place where we're focusing. All right. I think that's a good stopping point. The best in me bows to the best in you. Namaste. All right. I got a like a book that was published in the 70s called Mushrooms Demystified, about like identifying fungus, you know, and started reading it. But now everywhere I look, I'm seeing all sorts of cool new ones, you know. There's such variety, so many different kinds.
And we've had so much rain.
I know.
We're just having a, yeah.
All of a sudden, I saw today around where I teach music, there's like 4 new ones, or it's new to me, 4 that I'd never seen before poking up right together. It was awesome. I found some really cool purple ones last week too.